5th, 2024, Planning Board meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Thank you for coming, Charlie. Call for meeting minutes review, July 1, 2024. Everybody looked at those, guys?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Have a motion?
Second.
I wasn't here. All those in favor? Thank you. Public hearings, conditional use permit application for Route 139 Fairfield Solar LLC, assesses map 5 lot 81 and 82 in rural land use district. Public hearing. Who is here representing the project today? Oh, that's fine.
Do we need to be at the podium for the mic to pick it up?
I'm not sure. Chad, can you hear them?
I believe we have to be at the podium for it to
Yeah,
be
I
picked
think
up.
you need to at least stand in the microphone.
Stand in the microphone?
Yeah. Please, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Corbett. I'm with Rewild Renewables. We represent the applicant. With me, Sean Murphy from Flycatcher. They're our engineering consultant that helping us with the design and permitting. So Rewild's a company. We're based out of Portsmouth, New Hampshire. We've developed a lot of projects in Maine through permitting and construction. So we've done 15 projects throughout the state over the past few years. So we're familiar with the state in this process. I was just going to take you through quickly, just through the plan. I don't know if you guys have a copy of the plans as well, but I can run. Oh, there it is.
Unless you guys don't care.
Or you want to see the screen. Thank you.
Well, I'll talk about it. So this property is owned by Anthony and Larissa Larrabee. It's on the corner of Ohio Hill Road and Route 139. The project is located in the area right here. Obviously, we are accessing the project through their existing driveway off of 139. This is also where the utilities are going to come in from CMP. So there's going to be an overhead line to a couple of utility poles right at the entrance on their property, and then we transition underground through the existing driveway all the way out back to the solar array here. This project is
You gotta move to the microphones.
Okay, sorry, you
You gotta move to the microphones because we can't hear you at all on the live stream.
So the project is enclosed by an 8-foot chain link fence around the perimeter of the solar array. We have a location you'll see down in the corner here, in the southeast corner, as well as up here where we're proposing to put slats in the fence to screen it from view. So there's a couple notes for the location. There's really not much back in the back over here, so we didn't propose slats around the entire perimeter. These arrays are fixed tilt, so they're not a tracking system, so they don't move. They sit still. There's an equipment pad as you come into the entrance here, which will just house the transformer and the inverters. Yeah, so we have a gate right here. It'll have a Knox box on it for the fire department. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess those are the big highlights. I will note, I've been talking back and forth with the assessor and Nicole a little bit about the parcel itself is one lot per the deed. It has 2 separate tax parcel IDs that run through the array. It's not shown on here, but it goes generally right around here based on what we've looked into and talking with our zoning attorney, we did not comply with any setbacks on that because it's not an actual lot line. The lot line is the entire parcel. So I just wanted to mention that if you look at the assessor's map, it shows a line that goes through the parcel here. Our intent is to, once the project, assuming it's approved and prior to construction, we were going to submit a plan showing essentially it would be 3 tax parcels, one that will go around the solar array, and then modifications to the 2 other tax parcels that are on there. That's essentially it. I don't know if you want to add anything, Sean, but I don't know if there's questions. Happy to answer anything.
We are in public hearing, so any questions from the public? Or by Zoom? Any questions about this project from the public or Zoom? Hearing none, I would close the public hearing. And Nicole, how come this is not on our agenda further?
It is, it's under.
It is, it's after another item.
Right,
Okay,
yeah, we're going to take it up after the subdivision.
very good.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. 6 acres. Unfinished business, item 4 on our agenda, we have none. New business, subdivision revision, Samco Holdings LLC, minor subdivision application for revision of Lot 1 of the Tozier Lot Subdivision 1978, identified as tax map 12, Lot 16-1, zoned rural. A discussion and decision. Who is here from Samco Holdings? Okay, step up, sir. Thank you for coming.
Good evening. Well, we purchased that property back in October, and apparently the previous owner had done some inappropriate things to create the parcel, built a home on it back in the 80s, and now it's a non-conforming subdivision, I suppose, lot, and we're asking that it be kind of grandfathered in.
Okay.
As the revision.
And Nicole, what do you have on this?
This is the original subdivision from 1978, and it shows Lot 1 as one contiguous parcel of land, 21.6 acre.
Yep.
So that's what was approved by the planning board. So any additional splits to any of these subdivision-approved lots would need to come back to the board. So in 1989, Lot 4 was further divided, and the owner of Lot 4 came back to the planning board and received approval back in 1989 to further split Lot 4. None of the other lots have been further divided, but Lot 1 was consistently further divided by the owner without ever coming to the planning board to get official approval
Okay.
for the splits.
Lot 1 of the 1998,
1978. 76.
because they did come back at 1998 to get approval, right? For some sort-
1989 for Lot 4. So Lot 1 is all you're looking at tonight. This one lot from 1978 has now been chopped into what you see in front of you.
Okay.
So
Where's Lot 4?
Lot 4 on the subdivision is way down the road. So this is the original subdivision. It's got, so there was Lot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It was this large parcel of land.
Okay.
So, right, I'm just showing you the history of it.
Yeah, no, it's appreciated.
So Lot 4 was further divided,
Okay,
in
got it.
1989. They did that split correctly for Lot 4.
Got it.
The owner of all that 21 acres of Lot 1 did all these splits that these gentlemen have had to hire a surveyor to plot and put on an original subdivision revision plan at their expense, because the owner that did all these splits never did this. He was just selling off lots and never coming back to the planning board to get anything approved.
So as those splits were occurring, did they ended up at the town office and no one flagged them?
Apparently,
Okay.
it just never...
And the approximate dates of all those splits?
Are on that memo I gave you with your application, so I could give you a copy of that.
Okay.
This is when I'm seeing all these splits occurring.
Okay.
Again, nothing to do with the applicant in front of you. These are just the previous owner. He has now sold every single lot, doesn't own a thing there
Okay.
in Fairfield.
And what triggered this was the three splits in 5 years.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And technically, all of it triggered.
Well.
Correct. Right, exactly.
right.
Technically, they all triggered a revision every time it was sold outside or revised and made to a smaller piece. Every time it should have come back, just like it does with any other subdivision.
So in the memorandum, it talks about 2 weeks shy of 5 years from the sale date. This triggered 3 splits in 5 years. I mean, really, even if that had been 3 years after the split date, it still would have had to come back in front of us.
Correct, but we didn't notice it.
Right.
Because there was nothing drawing our eye to these sales. You know, that, ooh, wait a minute, this isn't a pre-approved subdivision until this third one. And the reason it got picked up is an attorney called to find out why the planning board was not involved in that last split. If that attorney had not called to make sure it had clean title, clean deed, we probably still wouldn't have picked up on it with the volume of sales that have been occurring. So this is to clean up what has occurred over the last, since 1978, all the splits.
So whomever did all these splits, not around?
Not around. Will not take, will not step forward. That's why they've had to pay to have a surveyor go and do the survey
Okay.
work.
So at this point, looking for approval of that plan, is that ready to be signed as a Mylar?
They don't take Mylars anymore, just
Right.
paper copies. But yes, these are ready this evening if the board is ready to approve it.
Okay.
And
Questions or comments from the board?
How big is that lot now?
Yeah. I'm wondering if these meet the...
I think it's 1.83 acres.
And the lots as they exist today comply with the ordinance, frontage requirements, setbacks?
As far as frontage and setbacks, yes, all the structures would meet the rural residential land use district.
Okay.
Including lot size?
Lot size for rural residential, correct. So they are, you know, undersized for rural, but they do meet the rural residential.
Questions or comments
Which is
from?
not the district they're in.
Correct. So whoever started charting this used the chart, the less restrictive chart. So yes, it does meet rural residential, but they're in rural. But it does meet the criteria for the blue shaded area.
Any questions or comments from the board? Do you have a recommendation following this?
I recommend the board approve it. It's not this applicant's fault that this occurred to them. They bought it trusting that they had clean title, and they did not.
Okay.
I agree. I think we're not gonna make somebody rip their house down.
Correct.
It's unfortunate, and hopefully we can find a better process to catch these in the future.
I agree.
What better process exists today to avoid this in the future? The assessors on top of out parcels and
Right.
recordings?
And we have an assessor that is just a contract employee, so they may not always pick up on a further division of a subdivision lot. They may, and they may not. It depends. It's not always the same necessarily contract employee that you get. You get a service, but you don't get an individual that knows the history behind every piece of land. So,
But if they go to a closing and an attorney's preparing closing documents,
right, but if they're not, and they're just changing cash at closing with no attorneys involved, yes, this could happen again.
okay. Anything else? Hearing any, I take a motion.
Make a motion to approve the subdivision revision as presented.
I have a motion, looking for a second. Have a second, all those in favor? Thank you, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
All right, they'll sign, if you would, before they leave. We're going to recess just briefly.
Item B5, a conditional use permit application for Route 139 Fairfield Solar LLC, assesses map 5, lot 81 and 82 in rural land use district. Thank you. Discussion. Any questions or comments from our board for Fairfield Solar LLC?
So when I went through this morning, I think there's a couple of things, just from my perspective, given the project's location, it makes good sense. I think there's some conditions we need to put on it. I actually, before I even looked at Cole's notes, a copy of the full DEP application, condition it based upon stormwater, the stormwater permit.
You hold that mic a little closer.
Oh, yep, sorry about that. Just the conditions of getting the NERPA stormwater permit before we issue building permits. And the other thing is cleaning up that property line in the middle. I think that would be good things.
I agree with both of those. I like the idea of combining the parcels tax assessment wise. If there's already one deed, I don't know why there are two separate parcels now. If the property owner is willing to do that.
They are not. Their deed describes the parcels as parcel A in their deed and parcel B in their deed, and they acquired it as two separate parcels described that way and taxed that way, and they would like it to remain that way, except for the portion that they're going to lease, which will become a third parcel that they're taxed for. So their parcel...
Third parcel or a
right.
third tax delineated area?
A third tax delineated area, right. I believe that's what you explained, yeah.
Is this parcel being sold or retained?
It's being retained. We're leasing a portion of
So
it.
it's a dirt lease?
Yep.
Okay.
I was going to ask, has DOT said anything about entrance? They given you, I mean, I know there's a driveway there anyway, but it's a little different.
It does indicate that there's a driveway entrance permit.
Yeah, we
kind of
filed
in
an
lineage.
application.
With DOT?
Yep.
So that I would make as a condition of approval, is
Yeah.
that that's acquired. And then the decommissioning plan, that has not been approved by the state of Maine yet?
Correct.
Okay, so I'd make that also a condition of approval.
I agree with that.
We don't have any neighbors here tonight, but I was wondering if you could describe the fence, talking about slats. I don't know, is that just like chain link fence with those like plastic slats put in?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we could do slats or like a mesh screening that you put on the fence. I think slats is better, personally.
Will there be
Yeah,
any-
typically we do black. I mean, black, you could do green too, but I think I like the appearance of black.
Is there any opportunity to do some plantings around the outside of the fence as well? Just because there are several residential properties along the Ohio Hill Road stretch that will be abutting this, and this is in their backyard, and it looks like area that they've been mowing probably for years.
Yeah, there's a access, like a farm road that travels around the back, so we didn't, that's kind of why we elected for, I think the ordinance calls for either screening the fence or landscaping, but we could look into like a landscape buffer along that.
I think the neighbors would appreciate it.
How tall is the fence?
We typically do 7 feet, but per the ordinance, it's 8 feet required, so 8 foot tall.
Okay. And why has the state not accepted your decommissioning plan?
Because we just submitted it recently.
Okay.
Sorry, I want to correct that. We have not submitted our Natural Resource Protection Act permit by rule, which is what this project will require, because we're not actually directly impacting wetlands, we're just near them. We haven't submitted our stormwater permit by rule, because we have less than 1 acre of impervious. We haven't submitted the decommissioning plan, in part because I've come to enough meetings where people have said, could you move this over here? And then I got to go back to the DEP and ask them to change around a plan they've already looked at. So making it a condition of approval is perfectly consistent with what we've seen in other locations. It's just we haven't submitted it. The format that you have here is exactly the one they've approved for well over a dozen projects I've done in the past. So I'm not worried about it. I don't want to send them a plan that doesn't have what your stamp of approval on it, essentially. Not a literal stamp, but metaphorical.
What is the decommissioning cost on 6.6 acres?
So I don't know, it's in your plan there, but we do the calculation based on New York NYSERDA study, and their study was based on megawatts of power. And it all sort of works out. A megawatt of power in solar is about 5 to 6 acres of land. So you could do the math and sort of convert it around. But that's just a study that the state of Maine has said, we'll rely on that, assuming you don't also include salvage costs. Because a lot of the materials here, the metals and such, based on current market, they've shown the salvage costs outweigh the cost for decommissioning. But we use this NYSERDA study to say, no assumption of it, here's the amount it is. It's in your,
It's 37,355.
for a project that size, that's about right for this. Yep. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's
Good,
right.
thank
I just
you.
wanted to
What is the turnaround time right now on NERPA permits? Because I know that DEP is running way behind with those things all over the place.
So the two permits we're talking about, the NERPA and the stormwater, are you submit them, and if nobody says anything after 2 weeks, they're considered approved.
Right.
The stormwater decommissioning generally takes about a month now, because they have a retired DEP employee, and that's what he does every day.
Okay.
He's just work on those. You're thinking of the NERPA Tier 1, 2
Tier
through
ones,
3,
yep.
which is a 4 to 6 process if you're lucky. 4 to 6 month process if you're lucky.
Right now, it's running over a year.
And that's why a lot of large projects are doing exactly what we did, which is avoiding wetland impacts, because the Army Corps isn't necessarily any faster these days.
Thank you.
I did not, although I had intended to previously, drive past this area and look. Is there going to be a new power line spanning Norwalk Road from this facility?
Yeah, so we've had a couple meetings with CMP going over how to get in, but yeah, there's a pole in the island, I think it is, near the church there. I think it's a church. And so essentially the three-phase power comes up that back side road. It doesn't actually go down 139. So it's going to go across the street next to that driveway from there.
Is there a permit that's needed for that from DOT?
No.
For crossing their right-of-way?
No, because the poles are on the subject parcel.
The wires crossing the Norwalk Road won't need a permit?
No, I don't believe so.
Nicole, have you ever heard of any?
No,
Permits
not
required for that?
for wires. No.
Easements are required where the back braces or guy wires go on private property, but if it's on
Correct.
their property.
Yep.
you don't
Right.
need it.
So the pole's outside of the public right of way now.
Correct.
Yeah.
Anything else on Fairfield Solar LLC? Questions or comments?
Are you willing to do the landscape buffer around the residential properties off of Ohio Hill Road?
Yeah, on the western side there.
I
Yes.
think that they would appreciate that. I think it's kind of fits in with the goal of the planning board to limit impact around development like this on neighboring properties. So I think the slats are great, but I think some more natural buffering would be certainly appreciated.
Yep, we could do that.
So you're talking tree plantings in front of the fence?
Yeah.
Okay.
On the residential side.
Residential side.
I mean, there's the residential property of the current landowner, but they're the ones looking to get this developed, so if they don't want them, then that's on that. But I think the residential properties along Ohio Road would certainly appreciate that.
Okay. Would that be a condition of approval?
Yes,
Okay.
in my mind.
Anything else? Hearing none, we could move to finding of fact. Conditional use finding of fact, 8524. Project name, Route 139, Fairfield Solar LLC, Rewild Renewables. Location, street on map 5, lot 81 and 82 on 6.49 acres of leased land owned by Anthony and Larissa Larrabee. A site plan to scale showing at a minimum location of existing and proposed structure and distance from lot lines, water bodies, submitted to the planning board with the application. Proposed site plan PV-100, rural land use district, 30 feet side and rear property line setbacks. This array currently intersects two lots, 81 and 82, and there is a property line in the center of the array. The owner of the property could submit a written request to the tax assessor to treat all their land as one parcel for tax assessing purposes. Then the assessor will remove the property line tax, this as one parcel. The owners could also submit a revised deed description combining all the land to be described at one parcel description, not parcel A and parcel B, as the deed currently is written. The setbacks to the property line is not met if the property line remains in the middle of the array. How do we deal with that, Nicole?
As they explained, the property owner would like to retain parcel A, parcel B, and create a parcel C, I'm guessing, for the lease. And that would remove the property line within the middle of the array.
Thus removing those
Because it
setbacks.
becomes a leased parcel described.
Okay, so that's how we'll deal with that?
Correct, if you make it a condition of approval.
Okay. So that condition of approval, you're keeping a list, sir, is that, is being dealt with one parcel to eliminate the property setbacks,
It will be a tax-assessed parcel,
single parcel.
correct?
Okay.
Around the solar array. Will that include the 15-foot buffer that's required? So outside the fence of the solar array, there'll be 15 feet, and that will be included in parcel C.
Yes.
If the market value of the project will exceed $80,000, a copy of plans and specifications for the construction shall be required. Site plan included in this submission package. The construction will require a local building permit application and stamped for construction plans for the solar project. Existing topographical contour, 2-foot contours are shown on the USGS map. Proposed grading and contour intervals not greater than 5 feet. No grading proposed, only a new 14-foot gravel road and new parking laydown area. Site improvements as shown on Plan PV-100, install 996 kW AC 1591.29 kW DC solar array consisting of 3,536 photovoltaic modulars and a fixed racking system, equipment pad, inverter, switchgear, and 8-foot fencing around the array. Vehicle trips per day, vehicle trip ways as shown on the plan PV 100, one entrance to the property leading to the pad area. Landscape and buffer areas, the adjacent residential properties will be buffered with slats placed on the fence. See item 5 on the application description. Stormwater and erosion control structures, as described in the application narrative, less than 1 acre impervious, a permit by rule to comply with Maine DEP stormwater standards will be obtained, showing erosion control and sediment controls. Condition to supply a copy of the issued permit by rule stormwater permit to the town of Fairfield Planning Board. That is one of your conditions. Power lines and outside installations of any machinery or material, as shown on the plan PV 100, poles along the Norris Walk Road. An estimate of vehicle trips to be generated by the development and any modifications to the public roads which may be necessary to absorb traffic. As described in the project description, it is estimated to have traffic during the construction period only. This is an unmanned facility and is expected to be visited only occasionally for mowing and maintenance as needed. A statement from the fire chief, suitable provisions for fire protection have been included. Email was submitted with the application. A list of names and addresses of all landowners within the 200 feet of the property lines submitted with the applications. Letters to the abutters were mailed out on July 25th, 2024, notifying of tonight's public hearing on this application. Analysis of potential environmental impacts, including effects on surface and groundwater bodies, air quality, and wildlife resources. If any potential negative impacts are identified, a management strategy consistent with the performance standards of the ordinance and the state and federal regulations must be prepared by a qualified professional. As described in the project description, application and proposed project will submitted to an application to the Maine DEP for an NRPA stormwater permit by rule, not yet granted. An erosion control plan, as described in a narrative and erosion control plan, is to minimize ponding, flooding, and erosion impacts. The details of this submitted to the Maine DEP as part of the stormwater permit. No details provided yet. Could request a copy of the full DE application when they submit it. Condition of approval.
I personally don't feel like we need to see the permit, but
Yeah, I mean, it
if the
just,
board wants to see it, we could request that they come back,
Right.
but I'm okay
Everything-
with making it a conditional approval that the state of Maine
Right.
approves it.
correct.
Okay. Do you want to see a copy, Nicole?
It's not necessary because their final plan for construction is going to show all of their stormwater
Okay.
and erosion control plan.
Very
It's
good.
already embedded on that.
Thank you. A statement regarding the use, storage, and disposal of any dangerous, toxic, special, hazardous waste, whether it's solid, liquid, or gaseous, and special measures available to deal with them in appropriate fashion. In the narrative, limited to the oils, lubricants in small quantities, no hazardous waste created as part of this project. Section 9.21 Solar Energy System Standards in the Fairfield Land Use Ordinance compliance with numbers 1 through 10. 1. Layout and design and installation shall conform with the application of industry standards such as these of the American National Standards, ANSI, Underwriters Laboratory, and American Society of Testing and Materials, ASTM, Institute, and Electrical and Electronics Engineers, Solar Rating and Certification Corporation, Electrical Testing Laboratories. Do we need to read all this? The project design, layout, and installation shall meet all electrical and building code requirements. The project layout is as shown on Plan PV-100. The equipment specifications are in attachment number 6. An interconnection agreement with CMP has been executed. See attachment 5. All electrical utilities within the solar array project site are located underground. Outside the gate are provided above ground, are required by CMP, and connections to new utility poles along the Norwich Walk Road. The panels are anti-reflective and located more than 200 feet from the Ohio Hill Road and 500 feet from the Norwich Walk Road. The plan describes using slats in the fence for screening the residential properties adjacent to the array. Item 6, the applicant will use the method in the stormwater application to DEP. Need details on the impervious surface gravel road stamped plan and total square footage included in the square footage of the racking post, fence posts, and equipment pads.
That's just for the building permit, and they'll give the road detail plan then, and the square footage of all those items for the
And
building permit.
Is that for assessing purposes? Why is that there, Nicole?
Our building permit is based on all impervious
Okay.
at 10 cents a square foot. So whatever they're creating, whatever they're impacting, that's how the fee is based, and I won't know what that number is unless they provide it.
Okay. Item 7, the SES and equipment pad area will be enclosed by an 8-foot fence with slats in a portion of the fencing. The warning signage will be placed in the required locations. Item 8, the site plan shows 14-foot gravel road. The application indicates the applicant agrees to comply with the standard. Need more details to verify the road construction meets the minimum requirements. Is that a cross-section? What are you looking for, Nicole?
Correct. When they submit their 4 construction plans, I'd need those details at that time.
Okay.
For the road as well as for the array.
Okay.
Yeah.
Condition, a detailed road construction plan must be submitted to the planning board. Item
So
9.
I don't necessarily know if the planning board needs to see it. I need to see it. Right.
Okay,
So it doesn't necessarily need to be a condition for approval of the project, but for
so submitted at the time of permit.
permitting.
Okay,
Right.
very good.
Yeah, I don't personally feel like we need to
No,
Right.
we don't need to see it, but
Right.
if it's not in the application, you need to see it prior to permit.
Correct.
Okay. Item 9, in the application, the statement says that the applicant agrees to comply with the standard of the SES with the property maintained. What is that?
Just their maintenance. What is their plan moving forward? Are they mowing twice a year? Are they, typically that's,
Twice a year.
yeah.
It's twice a year because the DEP definition, to avoid the panels and such being considered, for stormwater purposes, mowing it twice a year makes it a meadow, and therefore there's less requirements in terms of stormwater treatment.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Item 10, email from the fire chief included with this application, and this was for fire, safety, and access.
Correct, and they're going to do a Knox lock. It's so, on buildings, it's a Knox box. On a gate, there's their lock, and then his lock goes on top of their lock, so he can unlock when he needs to get in, should he have to, and their crew can unlock their lock and enter. So it's just one lock on top of another.
That's in case of a grass fire, what else can burn?
Yeah, grass fire, or some fire, or some incident.
Or somebody
Somebody.
stuck in there.
Correct. Or an animal, right.
Okay. Conditions of approval of this conditional use permit. I'll go down through the list to make sure.
So we said no road construction, so I could scratch that.
Correct. Okay, item 2, obtain a Natural Resource Protection Act stormwater permit by rule from the Maine Department of Environmental Protection. So you're set with that. Erosion control plan shall be stamped by a professional engineer and show the details. The property line that intersects the project shall be removed. So will that develop a different deed description?
I don't know how you guys are going to handle that.
I think the intent is that there's two tax parcels right now. We're introducing a third, so there'll be a modification to the two existing tax parcels and a third new tax parcel added.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Can we add something in there around our condition that it's acceptable, the solution is acceptable to our tax assessor?
Okay. Got it.
Okay, waivers granted. Written request for a waiver submitted on the conditional use application requesting a waiver for the requirement of the on-site utility transmission lines to be underground. No waivers requested. Don't we want to add the DOT curb cut?
Do you want me to, I can, with my motion of approval, I can list the
Go through
conditions
it.
of approval if you want me to.
Okay. Go ahead, I would take a motion, go ahead.
Before you do that, just to make sure, there's already an existing road. We're not getting a DOT curb cut.
Correct,
we're
it's a
getting
driveway,
change of
it's a
use.
change of use for
Or
driveway. and
expansion of
permit.
use, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. I'd take a motion to include the conditions of approval, the rest of them.
Are we ready for a final motion?
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the application as presented with the following conditions of approval. Number 1, a parcel C will be developed for tax assessing purposes with the appropriate setbacks per the land use district and is approved by our tax assessor. Number 2, plantings will be provided around the perimeter adjacent to residential properties on Ohio Hill Road in addition to the proposed slats. The applicant receives their driveway entrance permit for change of use from the Department of Transportation. The Natural Resources Protection Act permit by rule is submitted and approved. The Stormwater permit by rule, or the Stormwater Management Act permit by rule is submitted and approved by the DEP. A decommissioning plan is submitted and approved by the Department of Environmental Protection. And then final plans, including road and stormwater construction details, shall be provided to the town prior to receiving a final building permit.
Are there any other conditions other than mentioned in this motion? Seem complete? Then I would call for a second on this motion.
I'll second that.
I have a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I call for a vote. All those in favor? Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. I'll send you the information once I put it up.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Item 6 on our agenda, items by the public. Since we have no public, we'll strike that. Items by the clerk.
I have no items coming forward anytime soon. No one else has been coming in discussing any commercial development.
How was your week off?
It was nice, thank you.
Did you find a cool place?
I did.
Good.
Today's been tough, but yes, it was good. Tough, long day
I went in and robbed your agenda, by the way, on the
on the board.
bulletin board, yeah.
That's okay.
Anything by, items by members of the board?
What do we know about Dunkin' Donuts?
As far as,
Are they, I mean, we talked about this a couple meetings ago. I mean, pavement's gonna be put down. I'm assuming what's down there right now is a shim coat, and there'll be another one going, but there must be a moratorium.
You don't understand. When it comes to Dunkin' Donuts and a lot of these small chains, money is no
It's no
object, and
option.
neither is time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's
Okay.
gotta be time.
Now,
right?
they paid $675,000 for the site.
I know.
They gotta blow it up, there's another $100,000, okay? And how many times did our board member remind him that the water line is in the street?
It's in the street. I
Okay,
just-
and these guys, they'll go down the street and connect, they'll cross the street, they'll pave 200 feet, who cares? They're gonna spend $1 million, one or two, before they serve their first cup of coffee. Okay, so paving, and I think the rule is you're gonna pave 100 feet each side?
50.
50 feet each
50,
side.
yep.
So that's another,
Right.
let's assume it's
They're looking at least,
8, 10 grand,
Yeah,
I was gonna
easy.
say 20, but
Yeah.
okay? So,
Yeah, that's 6-inch
you just
pavement
don't
through there,
understand,
minimum.
Minimum, yeah,
those coffees,
yep, fair enough.
it does, and again, rightfully so, our code and our board quizzed and reminded
Yeah,
that, you know, guys, that would be a real quick deal to
tie in now.
contact the water district who's sitting here tonight, and what does he have to move it, 10 feet from the tap? 20?
My understanding is that the water district is requiring a new tap at the water main.
Yes. So the main is put close to that property line, right?
It is.
Okay.
It's just within my understanding is that it's just within the white line.
Okay. So
It is what it is.
you and I would be very concerned about spending,
I would, apparently they're
Okay.
not.
and they don't seem to be tearing or moving or...
No, nothing's moved at all.
No,
So,
no. So I think that we've done all we could prudently as a board to make suggestions, but...
no, it is what it is. I just was driving through and I went, wow, like, that would have been the perfect opportunity.
But they've done, there's trees laying down.
Yeah, there's nothing.
trailers sitting there.
Yeah.
They've done nothing on the site.
Nope.
But there's if you look at these chains, and Subway and all of them, there's a big gap between the franchisees and the leaseors at the end,
Right.
and corporate that approves it, and,
It'll happen when it happens, but
Right.
we could have saved some money.
yeah,
So,
apparently money's not a real big issue.
sell enough coffee, I guess. it's
That's,
not.
yep, sell enough copies, that's correct. Anything else? Clerk, board members, anybody? Hearing nothing, so Nicole's back and offer vacation. I'd call for an adjournment of the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion, second, all those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.